But first, a school debating competition has been thrown into chaos after Year 9 students were asked to debate whether or not the traditional wife movement was good for women. Debating South Australia have been inundated by angry calls accusing them of setting back women's progress by 100 years for allowing the topic even to be discussed. They were accused of asking teenage girls to argue for their own subjugation. The furor was so bad that Debating South Australia had to reassure schools throughout the state the debate wasn't about whether women must submit or subjugate themselves to men. It was simply about whether society would be better served by women being at home raising kids. Not only that, but they also had to explain how debating works. A statement from the Debating Society said, "These people complaining, they were outside people who've got nothing to do with debating. They don't even know how it works. Debating is very formal, and not only do we not tolerate incivility, it never happens. It's an intellectual, academic exercise bound up in civility, politeness and good manners." Before we get to, or whether we'll even get to, the demonisation of traditional gender norms and whether that's appropriate or not, this idea that we should shield children from debating, isn't the point of debating, Freya, that oftentimes you take on a position you don't even agree with, but you learn intellectual flexibility by debating and arguing principles?
But this is the corner the left have found themselves in. They are unable to even comprehend that people think differently to them. So the very idea of debating, the idea that there could be two different perspectives on an issue is so foreign to them, because for them, there is only one side, it is their side, and anyone that disagrees with them is, in this case, arguing for women's rights to be stripped away, or they're evil, or they're stupid. That's just how they think.
I think they can comprehend that people disagree with them. They can't comprehend why they disagree with them. And so the point is that you have to suppress any other version of thought, because, of course, if people have free thought and they don't agree with you, well, then you're in a great deal of trouble, right? And it is an extraordinary part of the left. I mean, the turnaround that we have seen in the last 50-odd years from once upon a time, you know, I like to think of real lefties, many of which I would call friends, who were going to university in the 60s and the 70s and were campaigning against the establishment and wanted to stop censorship and believed you should be able to say whatever the hell you wanted and were standing up for the common man. And oh, that's all the things that the right's doing these days, right? So they have turned into the establishment. And now that they are the establishment, they want to protect themselves in the same way that once upon a time the right-leaning establishment wanted to protect itself. The idea that you couldn't say certain things because it might offend someone. It was against the sensibilities of the times. I mean, that is where we are now dealing with the left, to the point where you can't even have an intellectual argument about something without being told that you're somehow subjugating women. And how is it subjugating women anyway to have an argument about whether or not there is merit in being a stay-at-home mum? Of course there is merit in being a stay-at-home mum. But the idea, of course, now is that unless you are a salary man and you're paying tax to the government, you have no purpose in life whatsoever.
The little trick that the left play, it's quite smart in the sense that it often works, is that they take an idea they disagree with and they don't just say, your idea is wrong, they say your idea is harmful. Well, no one wants to see anyone harmed. So then, having established that idea is harmful, they say now we must protect people from harm. Therefore, that subject cannot be discussed. But of course, as you pointed out, Freya, it's never about protecting anyone from harm. It's about power and it's about control.
And let's also remember the topic they're debating here, the tradwife movement. Here's a girl I found on TikTok earlier explaining exactly what these radical and dangerous tradwives stand for.
Have you seen these millennial and Gen Z girls? They just want to be at home with their kids. They want to have husbands and they want to take care of their husbands. They want to cook and they want to clean and they want to wear dresses. It's insane. When in reality, it's literally like the oldest lifestyle in the book. Before this, they were just called stay-at-home moms. And before that, they were just called women. But now our society has gone so far in the feminist direction that anybody who wants to live like a little bit old school and a little bit like how women used to live is fringe, right? Like an extremist.
So the radical feminists have completely demonized anyone that wants to take on a more traditional role, which I think is, to be honest, insulting to women's choice, because many women choose this lifestyle. But also on the evidence, there's a survey that shows conservative young women are 3 times more likely to report being happy with their lives than their progressive peers. If you look at mental health studies, young progressive women are far more likely to experience mental illness than young conservative women. Across a whole range of indicators, they are less happy, less fulfilled, and less satisfied with life, because the message the radical feminist movement sends them is it's all about you, it's all about your material advancement, it's all about autonomy. You shouldn't be shackled with any responsibility or obligation to other people. Anything like that is just subjugation. But really, the recipe for a happy life is responsibility and self-sacrifice, and that is what the tradwife movement embraces.